Hello, Joanna.
Hello, how are you?
I am good. I'm happy to see you. Every time it's like a new surprise. I feel like we have a room where people come in. This is great, this online thing. I'm telling you. We're having fun. Great. So, how are you?
Great. I've really been enjoying the summit. I've been listening in, um, and it's really, really interesting speakers. So I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Amazing. I know the feedback has been amazing. And the speakers like you, every time there is another aspect, another perspective. So I'm going to ask you again to type in your name so we know who's listening in and tell us where you're from. That's really what we want to know. We want to know if you're from Israel, from abroad. We want to know if you know Joanna. Maybe you know her, maybe you never heard of her. And by the way, if you never heard of her, let me share with you her bio so everyone will know who is. So let me start by saying that Joanna Shebson is the founder and that title, fun expert. Not everyone can have a title like this. And fun expert at Fun in Jerusalem, the popular family tourism platform for the capital city. Joanna made Aliyah with her husband in 2007 from Los Angeles. She's the mother of three. She went to Barnard and has an MBA from Kellogg Business School. She started out turn it into a successful and dynamic tourism website. She has printed activity guides and a large social media following. Joanna loves helping small tourism businesses reach large audiences. As senior deputy mayor on English speaking tourism, which we had as a speaker, right? Fleur
Sure.
Hassan Mahmoum, she has played an integral part in the growth of interactive tourism in Jerusalem. When it's all said and done, Joanna still loves enjoying fun activities with her kids and continues to be inspired by them. Oh, that's so sweet. Amazing. So we have Sarah who is here. Sarah said, I've heard of Joanna, but I've never met her. So here you go. This
Hi,
is the
Sarah.
opportunity. Sarah, yes. We have someone else who I have to look now at the name. I'm sorry, someone who's saying, hi, Joe, but I'm still not seeing the name. We have Marlene here, is from Athlete Israel. Sounds like such a cool business. I heard about her. She's amazing. Moti told her about her. Okay, great. So we have people that know you. Amazing. Let me refresh the page so I can commenting because on StreamYard, I don't see, I just see the comments. So, Joanna, I want to start with you to when you had this blog. Can you tell us how this all started? Because I'm sure that a lot of people hear about how you can have a success. I'm also sure that it only happens once in a, I don't know, I don't want to say a million, but it doesn't happen that often.
So how did you start that? What was your first impulse that you decided to start what you call your mommy blog?
So basically, I made Aliyah in 2007 with my husband and two kids. And once we got here, I kind of had to figure out, okay, what was I going to do? And my goal was getting my kids adjusted to life in Israel. And my older son was in Gan. My younger son was in like a mishpachton. And they finished every day at about 2 o'clock. And I had to figure out what I was going to do with them. So I decided I was going to take them out into Jerusalem, explore the different tourist locations, not because it was touristy, but more just like let them really explore Jerusalem. Around the same time, I was figuring out what I wanted to do, and I have a background in marketing. And someone mentioned to me, why don't you start a blog? And to be honest with you, at the time, I said to her, what is a blog? Like, I had no idea.
How long ago was that?
2009.
Okay.
So I came from a family with a family business in the internet business, but it wasn't blog focused. And so I decided I'd take a class, which is actually one of the great resources that we have in Jerusalem. And I took a class with a woman named Kelly Brown, and she taught the art of blogging. Yeah.
I didn't know that you took a class with her. That's so interesting. Oh, wow. Okay.
And the first assignment was start a blog. So at the time I was like, well, what am I going to write about? Like, what do I do every day? I take my kids to school, to gun, and then I take them out. Well, let me write about Jerusalem. And I called my sister Allison, and I was like, Allison, give me a name. Like, what should I call it? She's like, well, just call it Fun in Jerusalem. She didn't realize back then what an impact she was making. And so I went out and I bought the URL funinjerusalem.com, and I started my blog. And I wrote about what I did with my kids. And at the time, the first blog post was about Ammunition Hill because my boys were obsessed with Playmobil. And I thought, you know what, let me take a whole box of Playmobil, go to like the area outside in Ammunition Hill where you can run through the bunkers, let them kind of reenact some sort of, scene there with their Playmobiles, and connect it in some way that they can understand that there was a battle here to fight for Jerusalem, that we can now freely live in Jerusalem.
Amazing. Wow.
So that's how the blog started. And then I was noticing more and more that when you talk about like coming to a new country and just, getting used to being in a new place, I spoke Hebrew and I read Hebrew, but not so well. But I would read the papers just to see what was going on. And there would be different events listed in the Post and in Haaretz and in the Hebrew papers, and never the same thing listed everywhere.
That's true.
So, it came out of a bit of a frustration. So I said, well, I'll add a calendar to my blog, and I'll collect the information from all these places. And that's how the website started. That's really how it started, and turned from a blog to a website.
And so was it like growing naturally that you had people asking you to share the blog with them, or did you have a newsletter? Like, how did you, because you started to have people that were interested. Well, how did that happen?
So it's kind of funny because I couldn't even remember when I first made Aliyah. The way I stayed in touch with family back in America was I used to create photo albums. It was pre-Facebook, really. We created photo albums, and at the end of the month, I would email out my photo album. Now I think about it, how funny. Why did I think all my cousins wanted to see my photo album? But the truth is, my kids were really cute, and they did. They liked it, and they commented nice things. So it started off like that. And then slowly, once I started writing the blog, and then Facebook came around, I would post the blog to Facebook. And Facebook kind of took over. Like, if you remember Shutterfly albums, that was that was social media back then.
Wow.
And then Facebook really took over, and then people felt like they could follow my journey here through Facebook and my pictures.
Wow, amazing. And so we have people here who are saying, I do want to say your name, so I'm going to try to refresh the page. We have Ziva who says she posts tons. Ziva says, I heard about her. She's amazing. Mark sounds like such a cool business. Amazing. So we have people here who know you and about your business, and someone here who's saying that you have benefited so many people. And so let's talk about that. Oh my God, I used to do the same on Shutterfly. Totally forgot, Sarah, when I'm here, like, everyone is remembering what it was the days before Facebook. And so you wanted to service to people outside of Israel, right? So when people would come and they wouldn't know what to do in Jerusalem, when did you start like spreading that also to people out of Israel? Was that something you did right away, or is it something that grew with your business?
No, I think initially it was more sharing with my family members and my friends what I was doing. And then when I added the calendar and then really started to see like, wait, I was getting comments on Facebook with questions about what to do when someone comes. And that was all around the same time that I met you, and that we had our sessions together. And really, like, you got me to just focus on, okay, what is your goal and what are you trying to do? What do you enjoy doing? And taking something that was a hobby and something fun and really making it professional, and creating my first profit and loss spreadsheet, and my first, I think I remember meeting with you. That's why I was laughing when Debbie was talking. I think I remember meeting with you and saying, well, when a vendor wants to pay me, that's great. And when they don't, like, I still want to mention them, and I want to help them. And I've definitely matured since then. I still love helping small vendors. And I found really, professional ways of doing it and really offering a great service, because the alternative for a small vendor is the Jerusalem Post or Haaretz or,
but
now
I think, John, you're really going faster because you sharing events, happening in Jerusalem, and we're talking about vendors. But this is what I love about your business model. right? Because your business training was really about sharing, what you genuinely wanted to share with your family, with your friends, and was really aligned with your life and what you were doing with your kids and how you wanted to share that information. But then you turned this into your business because you started including vendors. And so I would love for you to share with everyone, because this is where the monetization or the money part, because people would say, how do you make money from sharing activities on a website, right? But this is where your story is amazing, because you were able to turn what you do naturally and organically into a business that has a way to ask for money. So can you explain the business model?
Sure. So it's really, really organic. And I think just to mention, like, I've maintained that throughout. I still love going out and finding new activities and sharing them. And it's a passion. And that's why people see that I love what I do. So I saw that I was sharing information about events that were happening, or I heard about tourism vendors who could have been anything from, at the same time that I started out, Tali Tarlo started out scavenger hunts, which is really like taken over Israeli Jerusalem tourism. And we started together. And the idea was, okay, Tali, how can I help you reach masses of people, and especially people pre-planning their trip before they get here, and let them know about the amazing product you offer. And she was one of my first vendors. And one of my other first vendors was a great guy, Yaakov, who does snappling and rappelling. And I took my kids snappling and rappelling off the Tayelet in Armona Netziv. And I said to them, like, this is great. Like, this is something unique about Jerusalem. This is something people are going to want to see. And slowly I started to meet more and more tourism vendors. And I realized that the best thing to do, what people don't realize is, it sounds like, oh, let me just start a blog. Like, it's not going to cost anything. And let me just start a website. It's not going to cost anything. Let me tell you, the costs behind the website are massive. And the more sophisticated this website gets, the more expensive it gets. But it's worth it, because I now have a platform where I can promote everyone's activities. I test them all out beforehand, or I know someone who's personally done them. So it's my name behind everything. I'm not sending someone somewhere where they're going to have a bad experience. And I sell marketing packages. What happened initially was I was taking reservation phone calls from everyone. And my husband told me, like, that was it. He was not going to stay with me if I was going to take reservation phone calls in the middle of Holomoid Sukkot. So I had to come up with a new plan. And the plan was to basically be the person who gives all the information, one entity that has all the information, receive the requests, and automatically send those requests out to the specific vendors who could then reply. And it allowed me to track how many requests each vendor got. And it allowed me to track what the questions were and what people's interests were, because I pretty much read almost every email that comes in. I still do today. And that's how I keep my finger on the pulse.
Mm-hmm. You see, someone is saying, Tamara is saying, this is so inspirational. You see, I love the Hamish atmosphere to match. Colorful, happy dolls. We love your background.
I had to choose a background because my husband is in Bidud in my office. So I thought this was the background that really fit.
That's a background that really fits. But beyond the background, I think it's really amazing. Marlene is saying it's amazing how you fell into You're Born to Do, right? I mean, you didn't fall, but you really like evolved in it, because basically you were able to something that you love doing and your passion, and turn it into something that is also serving vendors that are, most of the time, we have to say, also don't really know how to market themselves, or don't have really the outreach to market to Anglos and to English speaking tourists, because they don't know where to start. Like, where are they going to market them? So I think that you created a win-win for vendors and for people that need, like, a marketplace where you really match the information. So that is really brilliant. And so today vendors can actually purchase marketing packages from you and get the exposure from Fun in Jerusalem.
Yeah, and I've created a whole bunch of different options within the platform, whether it's the website, the newsletter, the social media, the printed magazines in hotels, newspaper articles, radio podcasts. So I have a lot of different options and a lot of different ways to reach. And I end up getting really interesting content because what I'm working with is so interesting. Like, I laugh that, like, if I wake up one day and I say, well, what do I want to do for Instagram? All I have to do is go out for a walk. And as soon as I'm out there, I see it, I feel it, I know what people want to see. Like, they want to know what it's like to live in Jerusalem and be here with kids. And you know, it's my Instagram feed's really easy for me, thank God, because there's so many great things to share.
And so do you see where the people that are following you, are they people that want to eventually come to live in Israel, or are they people that are just looking from outside and, you know, I just want to know what happens, but it's not in an Aliyah project? Do you have a feeling of who are the type of people that are following you?
So I feel like it's a real mix. I know it's a real mix. I've got a lot of Anglos who live here now. So helping them adjust to, you know, recent Anglos and people who've been here a long time. So telling them about summer camps or after school activities, which we call chugim, events that are happening that they might want to take their kids to. By giving them the information in English, even though their kids can go to a Hebrew event, or they might even be able to go to a Hebrew event, it's easier to receive the information in English. So I help that target market. I reach a lot of people who are planning trips, planning bar mitzvahs 2-3 years in advance, deciding where they want to host their bar mitzvah, what activities they want to do. And I do sometimes get emails from people saying, we're thinking of coming to Israel and we're thinking of coming to Jerusalem. Do you have some, you know, advice you can give us, or can you give me some ideas about schools? And I'm not the expert in schools, but I'm a big shadchan. So I love to introduce people. So I know who to send them to that will give them the information they need.
Wow. And so do people follow you for a long time before they decide to Israel, or is it like just before? Do you see, like, does this take a long time for them to follow you and then they decide to come, or are they ready just, you know, at the door?
No, I think a lot of people constantly follow. Like, they just want to know what's happening in Jerusalem. Jerusalem is such a unique place. It's not like I'm going on a trip to London and I'm gonna decide, you know, only the few months before what I'm doing. It's they want to know what's always new in Jerusalem, so that the next time they come, because they're repeat visitors, many of them, they'll know what to do. So you get both. Yeah. And I think just one important lesson that I really learned in business school, and I stuck to it, is choose your niche, become the expert, and don't try to be everything to everyone. Like, my niche is Jerusalem, my niche is family travel, kids, teens, and I try very hard not to veer from that. And it's helped me a lot, especially into getting into the Israeli culture here, by becoming the expert in that.
Right. And that is, I think Bryna is saying, you created a niche even before you said that.
Yeah.
Remarkable. Kol hakavod. Yeah, exactly. And that is the best advice that you can ever get. It's really about how to really identify which pain point you're answering and how you're the only one to answer that, and not to try to answer other pain points. And let me also, we spoke about how it is to penetrate the Israeli networking, you know, cliques you had to face, because your vendors are not all those. Some vendors are also Israelis, and they all know each other, and you're like the outsider, the Anglo. Maybe in the beginning, I don't know, didn't speak Hebrew, or you didn't belong here. So how was it for you to really penetrate that market and to, you know, force yourself in this network?
So it's definitely true. I mean, the industry I know the best is tourism, and the local tourism industry in Jerusalem right now, I would say they're great, and everyone really helps everyone. But it is very, very hard to break in. And you believe me, like, here I was, like, with an MBA, college educated, and when I would speak, I sounded stupid. And I was like, well, I'm really not stupid. Like, I really know the words in English to explain to you about the target market and the communication and whatever. But then I'd be like, you know, even just my accent. So it's very frustrating. And I think the things what got me through it were doing lots of networking, showing up to networking events in the beginning, even when I felt like I didn't know anyone, I wasn't, and just, you know, slowly picking people out and talking to them. And again, becoming this expert in this field and proving to them that I had a way to communicate with this community that they really wanted to reach. And that if they communicated directly with that community, they also, with their Hebrew, wouldn't be able to sound as sophisticated as they were. So it was really like explaining to them, it's not just language, it's the way you talk. Like, my best example would be one of the vendors, one of the tourist activities said to me, I have a minimum of 5 people. I will not do my activity unless I have 5 people. And they each have to pay 100 shekel. And I said, okay, but let me ask you a question. What if there's someone who's going on a really important date, or someone who has a really special birthday, and the parent wants to take just that kid out and do this activity, the 2 of them? What you need to say is your minimum is 500 shekel. Don't say your minimum is 5 people. And it took such a long time for them to say, okay, we get that. And then once you do that once or twice, you don't have to fake it anymore. Then they really think you're the expert and the one who can help them get into this crowd. But there are still places that don't, and there are still places that are very frustrating. And even today, there will be let's say large hotels where I called up a hotel and I said, it was the middle of Corona and all the hotels were closed. Or they were still open, but they were going to be closing. And I said, I know this woman, it's her birthday, and her friends want to make her a birthday video, and she loves your hotel. Can you just get the concierge or someone to wish her happy birthday? After 5 messages back and forth through their Instagram, the woman says, nobody here knows her. We can't do it. Nobody knows her. We checked in the books. We don't see that where she ever made a reservation. I'm like, I promise you, this is a woman who lives in England who loves your hotel. It's Corona. Just do something nice, and you can even share it that it's a nice thing to do. And the woman said, no. So you did, that's a bit of a click mentality. Had I been Israeli, she probably would have listened to me. But it's, at the end of the day, you can't change the culture. You are joining the culture. You can't change it.
Right. You have to adapt yourself, of course.
Yeah.
And so tell me, how did it change to become, for you and for your business, to become the senior advisor to the deputy mayor on English-speaking tourism, Fleur Hassan, whom we had the pleasure to hear yesterday? How did that change for you? What did that bring, that experience?
So that was amazing. And I have a lot of thanks to Fleur. I had worked with her and kind of had meetings with her about different tourism-related issues in the city. And I said to her, actually one of the main issues we had was, and I said, Fleur, when you have a large concert in Brichat Sultan or a huge event, the company running the event doesn't accept American credit cards. So your American tourists come and they can't buy tickets. And you're trying to integrate them into local culture, but you're not making it possible. And once she saw that, and she's like, well, why don't you fight that? I'm like, because I'm an Anglo girl who made Aliyah a few years ago, and they don't want to talk to me. She's like, well, then we're going to give you a title. And that's where it started. And I said to her, I would love to do it. So she gave me an incredible opportunity. And I went to many, many meetings with her related to tourism. I had the on the ground experience and knew what was going on that I could fill her in. And she made a huge difference. And it was my entry into politics. I'm not interested in staying in politics. Politics is not for me. I'm happy to be sitting in the background. But she's an incredible person, and she enabled me to break that click. And that's I think that's really one of her goals and that's why I asked when she was interviewed, how much of this is about you being a woman and how much of it is about you being an Anglo in everything you've accomplished. And
I saw the question. I'm sorry I didn't have time to ask her, but that was a good question. You have to ask her and tell us after what she answers.
But then after that, I ended up being invited to all the most important meetings, from the initial Corona meeting for the city with the mayor, me and 30 other people from the museums and the hotels saying, what are we going to do? And it was interesting because here they had all this information. It was before Pesach. They were debating. We still really didn't know what Corona was and how long it would last. And they're like, well, maybe we'll still have the American tourists come for Pesach. And I got a message on my phone that said Yeshiva University had just closed down. I said, I have to let you all know, there's no way you're getting American tourists this Pesach. They're like, no, there's still a chance. I'm like, no, there's no way. If the major university just shut down in New York, nobody's going anywhere. Yeah. And that was
the piece of information, you were bringing them the piece of information that they couldn't get, at least not as fast, because they're not connected. So your connections were amazing. Wow, Joanna, someone is saying it's so inspiring. Marlene is saying it's so inspiring. So let me ask you something. When you look back and you know that you made Aliyah, you started as a blog, as a mommy blog, as you say. Did you imagine before you made Aliyah that this is what you would do, and this is being the senior advisor to the deputy mayor in in Jerusalem, and managing this and talking to vendors in Hebrew? Like, is that something you could have back then when you said I'm making Aliyah?
No, and definitely because I kind of thought I'd do something small on the side while being at home with my kids, and this something small became quite big. It wasn't something I planned, but I was thinking about that also with Debbie's call. Like, when you start a business here, you have to think, is your main goal to make a difference, or is your main goal to make money? And you can do both, but you got to figure out what your main goal is, because it changes your trajectory. So at the time, I was keeping in touch with family members after making Aliyah. It then turned into, wow, I can like affect the way people think about Jerusalem and think about it as like, it's not primitive, and look how incredible it is to live here and to visit here. And that became my mission. And then helping small businesses became my mission. And along the way, obviously, I don't want to lose money. And I'm very happy to be making money from the business, and it needs to support itself. But I chose the path of letting it grow organically and waiting till I had made enough money that I was going to then take that money and reinvest it in a brand new website, which launched in March, right before Corona. And that's how the business grows, like really naturally.
Right. Yeah. It's part of its decision, but I think it's also possible to combine, and you're a great proof of it, that you can monetize your passion, that you can turn. I mean, you didn't want to leave it as a mommy blog and just sharing information. You turned it as a business that has a potential to make, and how much you want to win it and how much you want to invest. That's of course a personal question, but I think potentially it has the potential. Now I'm going to ask you another question. Yesterday we said that we spoke about how people think that this is Wild West here, and that things are not organized and not structured. Do you think that you could have done something like that in the States? Is that something that if you would have stayed in the States, you would have ended up doing something creative and in business like? Or do you think your path would have gone somewhere else if you would have stayed in the States?
I think that I always would have done something creative and marketing focused. I may have worked for a company as opposed to doing my own, but the beauty of Israel is the 1 degree of separation. 1 degree, I could talk to the mayor, and 1 degree away, I could talk to the head of the hotel association. And, that makes a huge difference for my business. That made a huge difference. Like the ability to reach who I needed to reach, and no one was doing it. And the thing is, you need to understand, like, if I want to be inspirational, but I need to be realistic. I worked like crazy through the night, like answering calls and emails, like at 3 a.m. The day I gave birth to my daughter, I was answering emails from the hospital. Like, it's not easy. The opportunities are there, but it was because I was willing to really, really put myself all in that made it successful. And now it's grown enough that I can hire people and I don't need to be answering emails at 3 a.m. But yeah.
And this is going back to the title of your talk, which is identity mindset, not a culture, right? And so this was your choice to really grab this opportunity and to really go all in to make it what it is today. It wasn't just because we're in Israel and everything is possible. It was also your decision and your work and your hard work. And I love that you're saying that it wasn't easy, because we don't want to make it sound easy. We want to make it sound, yeah, it's great. You have opportunities, come here and meet the mayor. But you knew what you wanted. And someone is saying the best way, naturally, passion for business and making people happy. You see, that's exactly what we see. So I'm going to ask you our last question, which is the question of the summit, apparently, which is, what would you say to people who are watching you, outside of Israel, thinking maybe of coming, and what would you say to them if, I have a business, I don't know, if it's possible, like what would be your message to them if they're thinking of coming and they either think of opening a business or already have a business?
So I think if they're still thinking of opening a business but not sure what it is, don't come with set plans of this is what I'm going to do and I'm going to create this product and then everyone's going to come running. Come, listen, watch, interact with people, see what the needs are here before you create what you think everyone's going to need. And that's really what happened with Fun in Jerusalem. Like it came out of nothing was handed to me on a silver platter. It was more that you really had to listen, see what the needs are, and say, okay, do I have the skills to make that work? Can I create this? Can I be the one who passes on this information? And do a lot of networking, before and once you get here, and take ulpan. Work on your ulpan, because the best advice I can get is to try to get rid of your very, very heavy American accent when you speak Hebrew.
So watch movies. That's what I say to people. I say watch movies in Hebrew and watch watch TV in Hebrew, and networking. So it's totally aligned with our global online business networking that we're launching, because that's what everybody is talking about. Everyone is like, we need to network. We need to network, even in the comments. So I'm very happy that this is very aligned. And we have Linda who's saying, you have to figure out how to use your English and Anglo culture as an advantage. Many of my clients have said they're fine in presenting in Hebrew, but doing it in English is a great challenge for them. So exactly what you said, like finding your need and really finding what the people need here, and not come with a fixed mindset, being very open. Wow. Thank you so much, Joanna. This has been so inspiring. You're going to go after and look at the comments and answer, because there were some questions specifically for you. Accent never go.
I have to take a selfie because, we've got to have a picture.
Of course,
so
you have
hold on a second.
You have to, yeah. And you're going to post it on Instagram?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Okay, so you tag us.
Great.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you for being part of the summit. It's always a pleasure. And I will see you, everyone. We are back in 15 minutes with Marcy, the co-founder of Aliyah Network. Thank you, Joanna. I'll see you soon.
Thank you.